Hello, everybody. Welcome in to the Casual Sports Podcast. As always, I'm Alec Cabrera. That's Matt Morrison over there. Matt, how's it going?
Going pretty good here today. Just another lazy day here. I mean, we're pretty much on Thanksgiving break here at YSU, and I'm just kind of coasting through this week. I don't have much homework to do, so that's a plus.
Chilling out time. That's definitely for sure. I'm on the same path. But, we got Thanksgiving coming up. We got a lot to go on today. And college basketball, our top 10 coming out. No Mike Wolfgang on the show. He'll be back, though, for the rest of the week. Not to worry whatsoever. But, Matt, let's get in to what happened last night. Curls basketball recap. Brookfield survived the big second half from Lakeview. They're now 1-0 on the season. We were both calling that game. Had to knock the rust off for ourselves calling some basketball.
Yeah.
But really, overall, a great game for Brookfield. That defense was on the money. They weren't really giving up big plays. They were all over the place, on the scoring end. 19 points for Sophie Hook. She went off. And they found something out of a young sophomore as well. She's going to take over that center role for them and really dominate the paint if she continues to play like she did for that game last night. That's Carrie Wellman, I believe, and
Casey
Wellman, and she had a great game, double-digit points in her varsity debut here for the season, and it was fantastic. Lakeview, I mean, they struggled to really get anybody going scoring-wise. Pavlovsky was their number one scorer in the first game. She had 18 points. She still got double digits in this one. She had about 13, I believe it was, but it just wasn't enough to get past Brookfield. They made a big comeback in the end, made it 1-2 point game. They just could never close that gap.
Yeah, I mean, Brookfield, they letting up the reins a little bit and let Lakeview come back, and then they realize, hey, we let up and we have to, get that strong hold once again, and, that's what they did. Terrific play by, like you said, Wellman and, Sophia Hook as well. Those were the players of the game last night. Wellman on defense, getting every rebound, blocking, stealing the ball, getting it out to the likes of, Katie Gibson or Audrey Reardon to take it down court, or even Sophia Hook as well. And Sophia Hook had a couple of steals, as well did Katie Gibson. So this Brookfield team, they're well coached. I like their coaching staff. So they're only going to learn more into the season. So this was one game, kind of shake that rust off a little bit, and then get ready for the next game.
And Matt, that upcoming schedule for your Brookfield Warriors. You got Jackson Milton coming up next, Mineral Ridge and Springfield all up on the schedule. I'll get a chance to check out that Springfield team beforehand. They got Crestview on November 29th. So on Monday, right after Thanksgiving weekend, we'll get a big matchup, Crestview versus Springfield. I'll be on the call for that one. So, Matt, we're going to get some previews of this Crestview versus Brookfield game at Rocket Mortgage Arena here on December 11th very soon. So make sure to stay tuned if you're watching live and you want to hear more on that one. Stay tuned to our podcast weekdays 2 to 3 here on YSN Live. Matt, how about what happened on Monday Night Football? Tampa Bay crushing the New York Giants 30-10, blew them out, wiped the floor with them, and used them as some toilet paper. That was just all around a beatdown. They couldn't get Saquon going. He was on limited carries, 6 carries, 24 yards. They really didn't want to utilize him. Tom Brady goes off 307 yards, 2 touchdowns, an interception. Daniel Jones, 1 touchdown and an interception. His completion percentage wasn't great. It was just defensively a fantastic game for this Tampa Bay squad.
Yeah, I know. This defense is engaged on Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones didn't do a single thing right last night, interceptions, getting sacked. Then they try to get Saquon going and they shut him down too. And, Saquon is very injury prone. So, even when he's healthy, he's still getting over that last injury. And he's not the same that he was. I've been saying that for years now. He's not that Penn State electric running back that we saw that was, the number 2 draft pick. That's not him anymore. This is different. He is
no man, I think we've been talking about that here on the podcast recently. Just this isn't the same explosiveness we've seen out of this guy in years past. He doesn't have that first step ability that he used to. He's not explosive, and he's far too injury prone. And I've gone so far as to call him a bust. And you don't want to say that about just anybody, and really hurts their career when people start labeling them as a bust, especially when, was 4 years in and was, a leader in rushing yards in his rookie season, but since then he hasn't done anything in the league. He came out with a big boom, but this team has needed him to be that rookie running back that he was, and he's just not. And when you can't produce the way you do in your first year, the way you do at college, or the way you're expected to, frankly, to me, that is a bust. So however you want to label this and what he's done this season, he just, and in the rest of his career after that rookie season, he has not lived up to the hype that he was built coming out of Penn State. And that's where you reach this issue of he just can't be labeled as a franchise back, a great running back, because he's a bust. I mean, he's not living up to what they needed him to be. And I don't know any other way to say this. And, I'm not trying to be mean to the guy, but until he can be healthy and prove that he can run with the same explosiveness that he did in that first year, then, running backs, just as we're seeing, it only lasts so long. You got 5 years to make your mark, and then you're a career backup after that, for the most part. He's on that most part, yeah. 3, 4, 5 year mark. He's in that stretch right now. If he doesn't prove now that he is, what everybody thought he would be, he's just going to fall into irrelevancy and, probably end up in the same way as Le'Veon Bell, jumping around from practice squad to practice squad, hoping to get signed somewhere. I'd say he's better than Le'Veon, and I got no doubt about that. But he's just not cementing himself as the guy that you can trust to be your number one running back, and that's what you need. And quite frankly, he hasn't been able to be there for his squad.
I mean, you look at guys like Frank Gore, he spent, a good part of his career in San Francisco. And then after, that, they didn't really have any more need for him. They went on to better running backs, Raheem Mostert, and other guys they threw in there as well. And he just balanced the team, and as well as Adrian Peterson. So, and you can even say Zeke. I mean, Tony Pollard is probably the main back there. He's been getting most of the carries. Well, the thing with
Zeke, Zeke hit that 5 year mark, and 4 or 5 years, he had a great 5. So he cemented himself. He got his big paycheck, and now he can kind of just ride off into the sunset. Continue to play, limit the carries a little bit more so he can stay healthy throughout the season. And then come playoff time, he gets to go off and go big when Pollard gets to take the rest off there because he's the younger guy. They're going to use him a lot still then too. But being the great running back in your first 4 or 5 years allows you to take off games in the regular season after that, so you can be fresh for a team come playoff time and you can deliver them some big games. We haven't seen that out of Saquon Barkley, and that's where we're going with this. Is he hasn't proven in those 3 years that he can be the guy that come playoff time you're going to rely on to win you games. Because frankly, if this Giants team was to ever get to a playoff game, he's probably injured. And he's not going to be able to help them because this team can't win without him. And even with him, they struggle. And you saw it last night. They limited his carries. He got 6 touches. They lose by 20 points to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a team who we've seen struggle, quite frankly, in the last few weeks.
Yeah, and they definitely had a bounce-back game last night. But I think the Giants need to you just saw that they just fired their offensive coordinator. Jason Garrett is gone. He's out of here.
Former Cowboys coach,
Yeah, I think that's a very big first step right there, getting rid of him, because, there was no offense at all. And maybe that's the reason why Saquon wasn't getting the carries, I think they need to set this up as a more run-oriented offense because, Daniel Jones is good. Yes, he can take off as well. And, those offensive linemen, they're in the NFL for a reason. Do your job and do it good, okay, because they're not helping, both of those guys' situations either, okay? And they don't even have, one of their best receivers out there.
Sterling Shepard.
His name is that? Yeah, Sterling Shepard is out. So, I think they need – they have Kenny Golladay. So, and I like Kadarius Toney as well. I think he'll be a good receiver in the future. But they're young. Kenny Golladay has been around, but, Toney is your best receiver, and he's a rookie. So right. you need to get these in these veterans' hands right now. And
we got to move on from this one. How about some NBA tonight? Tonight, 10 p.m. 9-8 Portland Trail Blazers hosting the 9-8 Denver Nuggets. Nuggets, despite that 9-8 record, they're 2-5 on the road. Portland opens up as a 5.5-point favorite in this one, and both these teams, they've really been struggling so far in the Western Conference. They haven't been playing fantastic ball. It hasn't been the worst either. So it's very. At that point, it's like they need to start stepping up. We're at that first 20 game mark. And, it looks like this is a team that can probably win 45 games, but this is a team that probably needs to be a little bit better than that. And that's good, but they're riding right along that 50% mark, 529 on the season for both teams, tied up for sixth place in the Eastern Conference in the West with the Grizzlies, the Trailblazers, and the Nuggets. Then the Lakers sit just right behind them at 9-9. And Nuggets, right now, they're on a 4-game skid. They've been playing terribly in their last 4. And you look around the league, the best teams right now, they're the hot ones. You look at the Phoenix Suns, 13-game winning streak for them right now. It's impeccable as they've hit stride. And even the Warriors, they're on a 4-game streak. You just look around, you're seeing teams hit that 20-game mark right up to it, and they're starting to slide back down to probably where they'll end up finishing the season. You see these first 20, it really sets the tone for the rest of the season, and that's what we're getting at right now with these two teams. So, this is a big point in the season, some tough games coming up for either squad. Trailblazers have the Kings, the Warriors, the Jazz, and the Pistons coming up. And, Kings just fired their head coach, Luke Walton. Warriors and Jazz, though, two big squads that can't go up against us. The first and third teams in the Western Conference right now. And you can't forget about Detroit Pistons. They're not the best team. They're just 4-12, but they have so much young talent. And you saw how easily they got under LeBron James' skin and Isaiah Stewart, although Stewart probably won't be allowed at that game. But, he's facing a 2-game suspension for going absolutely berserk afterwards. But after he gets, punched in the face by LeBron, accidentally, who knows? We can't say whether it was accidentally or not. That's up to, LeBron James to probably be the only guy that knows for 100% certain if that was, the case or not. But this Portland team, they just don't seem to have an identity. Every game's been close for them. They haven't looked impressive. They haven't looked bad. Last time these two teams faced, the Nuggets destroyed them 124-95 on November 14th. And it's going to be a game coming up that, they're just going to have to play big. And if Portland wants to win this one, they're going to have to find an identity a lot sooner than they did in that game against the Nuggets, because they were outscored 33-18 in that first quarter. And from there, it just wasn't even, able to make the comeback. It's 35-34 in the second. Trailblazers outscore them 26-24, but they go into the fourth quarter and they can only score 16 points and they, lose 124-95. So they're really going to have to, come out and play big, and they're going to have to really take it to Denver, because I think Denver has the size advantage on them, and they're going to have to find a way to shut down Jokic. And we've seen that problem with them really the past few years. They haven't had the size to compete down low, especially with the injuries last season. Nurkic really knocked him out for a good part of the season. Larry Nance Jr., they're going to have to rely on him and Nurkic to lock down the top. Because Robert Covington, Norman Powell, they're not big guys. They're playing the forward positions, but they're both 6'6", 6'7", and they're not going to be able to match up against a 7-footer. And only Larry Nance is really only 6'9" as well. He's not a big guy. The one thing with him, he's very athletic, and he can get up and play above the rim. And that's where they're going to have to rely on him to go one-on-one with Nikola Jokic when Nurkic is off the floor.
You look at this Cavs team. This Cavs team really shut down, Jokic when they played him about a month ago now. And, I think Portland needs to look at that and be like, hey, we have guys like Norman Powell, and they can play defense like that. I think you need to get guys like that. And, like you said, Nance Jr., he needs to start getting out of that, I just alley-oop dunks. That's all I do. You need to start playing defense. Okay, that's why you're in the NBA. And that's why the Trailblazers honestly got them. Because they have the shooting, they don't really need dunks. They have their shooting and, layups and jump shots. They're not really a dunking team. And, that's what Larry Nance does. And, he needs to transition himself into a defensive player because that's what Portland's all about. That's why they got Norman Powell. And, Damian Lillard can play defense too as well as, Nurkic. But Nurkic, like you said, he went down, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they need to fill that void.
Well, not this season, Matt. That was last season.
Oh, that was last season. Okay, so they have him. Okay, so they have him now. My bad. So you need to use guys like that. Nurkic, very good defensive player. You need to get guys like that to shut down Jokic and other players around Jokic. So, that's it. They don't have Carmelo Anthony anymore. I know Carmelo was old, but he came off the bench and gave some points off the bench. So they really have to play more defense. in this
Yeah,
game.
they do. And, I guess we'll see. How about we go ahead and make picks on this one, Matt? I'm going to take the Denver Nuggets. You look at the last time they played, it was a runaway for them. And to me, they're on a 4-game skid. I don't see them extending that one to 5. Portland's been so up and down recently. They're getting some good wins, but they've all been very tight wins. So I'm just thinking the advantages in matchups go to the Nuggets here. I think they got their number right now, and I'm taking Denver.
Yeah, I like Portland. That's like unofficially my second team besides the Cavs, but it's all with Denver. I gotta go Denver here.
No pick for Mike here, not on the show today. So how about we switch right on over? NHL action. Tampa Bay Lightning tonight taking on the Philadelphia Flyers, 7 p.m. Tampa Bay -1.5 point favorite in this one. So, Matt, what's your analysis on this team? You're more of an NHL guy than I am, even though I was undefeated last week.
Yeah. Tampa Bay, yes, they're very dominant. They're dominant every year. But this Flyers team is, pretty much flying out of nowhere, okay? They have had some up and down seasons. Now this year they're finally saying, hey, we have guys like, Giroux, and, we can play this game. They have a good goalie, Carter Hart. I think he's young, and he can block off big shots. I think those are the main guys for this team, bunch of other guys as well. They're fast, they're young, they have veterans to control the tempo a little bit with these young and fast guys. Tampa Bay, yes, they're dominant, but the Flyers are just on a hot streak right now. And if we're making picks, I gotta go Philly here. I say Philly sneaks this one out.
Well, that's definitely.
I'm a Penguins fan. I don't like Philly.
Yeah, I know. And, they're sitting right behind you guys in the race for the Metropolitan here as you guys are in 5th place behind the Blue Jackets, who, by the way, we picked that game last night, and I said it was all about the scoring. They put up 7 goals in that game last night against the Sabres. Yeah, I think the final score was like 7-4, 7-5. And I saw that, and I just went, man, I guess it was right in the fact that they can score it. They don't have defense, but they can score. That's for 12 goals in a NHL hockey game. That's a lot of goals, man. Especially when you get teams favored by, 1.5 goals. You expect the most points you see a team scoring, maybe 4, 5 on a great night. The fact they put up 7 and then allowed 4 on the other, 4 or 5 on the other end, that was extreme. A lot of points, insane. A lot of scoring in that game, and absolutely insane in my opinion. And they're up there in the race right now for highest scoring offense in the NHL. There's a couple other above them. You got the Panthers, who have 71 total goals. The Capitals have 64, and the Blue Jackets and the Hurricanes both 57. That's just in the Eastern Conference. So they've been a great squad. But back to their Lightning here, you look at their goals for 55-52 in the goals against category. I got the Flyers with 43 goals for, 44 against. I haven't seen their scoring come out of it, but lucky for them, they're playing some pretty good defense right now. It just hasn't been enough in their last 10 games. 4-4-2. They've been forced to overtime, obviously twice there. They just haven't been playing impressive hockey right now. And then you look at the Lightning, they're 7-1-2 in those last 10 games. They're on a great hot streak right now. Yeah, just a 1-game win streak after they lost to the New Jersey Devils last Saturday on the 20th. But low scoring affair, or actually a high scoring affair there, they just couldn't keep up. And that's the one thing you've seen from them. Their defense has struggled, much like the Blue Jackets. But the offense has been right there, scoring goals left and right. They seem like a very put together team offensively, and if they found some defense to go along with that explosive offense they seem to be growing here, this is definitely a team that you could probably see making a very deep postseason run like we saw a few seasons ago. And they got to be one of the favorites moving forward based on the fact of how much they can score and how they just seem to pick apart teams they go up against. And they don't really ever seem to be that one chasing from behind in most of these games. So, I guess if we're making picks here, you're taking the Flyers. I'm going to stick with Tampa Bay, 7-1-2 in that last 10. I'm going to roll with the favorites here, and I got the Lightning.
All right.
So, let's get in college basketball. The top 10s coming in here as voted on by your Casual Sports Podcast crew. Me, Mike, and Matt, not me, myself, and I. I voted on all of them.
Okay, Jim Carrey.
I could be. Hey, man, you guys don't know what goes on behind the scenes. I produce this show. I get everything put together. You guys don't know what comes out of it. But our top 10 goes like this. At number 10, UConn coming in there. 4-0 on the season. They're off to a phenomenally hot start. They're fourth right now in the NCAA in points per game with 92. They have been phenomenal shooting the rock at over a 50% mark from field goal. And then from three, they're up there in the 393 range. They have been on the money. Their free throw percentage is about 74%. They've been having a great season. I'm the only one that had them ranked. I had them sitting up at 8th, and based on the way everybody, our bottom's kind of shuffling out, they get in there based on the points from me alone. So I love the squad. Obviously, Matt, you didn't have them ranked. Have you seen at all anything from this UConn squad?
I mean, they have definitely looked better than they have in previous seasons. Usually, when we hear UConn basketball, we're just talking about the women's team. The women's team pretty much wins a tournament every year.
Oh, they've won two, 3 straight right now, and they're looking for another one. Paige Beckers is unstoppable. Granted, I think they're second place right now in the AP Top 25, but that's just all a formality. They'll end up in
this
first
UConn team, they haven't looked this good since they. I mean, I'm going to go on a limb here. I think John Wall went to UConn. They haven't been good since John Wall has been there. So
yeah, and obviously that's been at least a decade.
That's been a while.
He's been in the league, so
at least a decade. That's why I was kind of iffy. He went there, right?
I think so. I'm not 100% on that, but you look at this UConn team. No, they haven't had that impressive win against the top team, but that's coming. They have the Battle for Atlantis tournament coming up here tomorrow. They got Auburn. After that, they either have Michigan State or Loyola Chicago in this tournament. Plus, if they make it past that round, they'll have one more. So those big tests are coming for them. But what I've seen so far, they destroyed in-state opponent Central Connecticut 99-48. They beat Coppin State, also in-state opponent 89-54, 93-40 against LIU, also from Connecticut. And then they took on the Binghamton Hartford, Connecticut team. They won that 87-63. They've just been winning these games handedly. They haven't really had to show anything. I'm interested to see what they do come this tournament here, and that'll really decide whether they move up and probably hit the AP Top 25 as well. But how about we go in right here, number 9 on our list, a team that isn't even in the AP Top 25, despite being one of only a few teams to have a 5-0 record. And not to mention, this is the number 1 scoring team in NCAA. Points per game, 99.6. Second highest team is Gonzaga with 93.2. This the rest of college basketball, but the number 2 team by 6.4 points. Yeah, level of competition is not the same, but this Iowa basketball team, they have been absolutely phenomenal. Why don't I go ahead and read off the scores for you this season of what they've done? Against Longwood, 106-73. UMKC, 89-57. They had back-to-back low-scoring games. They had one against NC Central, 86-69. And then they went up against the ASU Hornets, 108 points to 82 in that one. And then against Western Michigan yesterday, 109-61. How often can we say in college basketball we're seeing teams score over 100 points consistently? Everyone said after Luke Garza was gone, this team was going to fall apart. They weren't going to be great. They didn't really have an overly impressive recruiting class, but they are putting this thing together. And I mean, you see Western Michigan, they're a 1-3 team, and they really haven't done anything great, but it doesn't really matter when you're seeing this team put up this many points, and they're being led. Keegan Murray, 29 points in just 21 minutes of play. I mean, they're not even playing these guys more than a half of basketball, and they're putting up, leading numbers in the NCAA. And even the fact that they really didn't play much in the second half alone, Iowa put up 60 points, and they put up 49 in the first. This was a fantastic performance we've seen from this team throughout the season, and obviously we're waiting for that schedule to get hard. They have Portland State this Friday. After that, though, they're hitting that deep part. They have Virginia from the ACC, number 3 Purdue, number 14 Illinois. They have Iowa State. They're going to have Maryland and Wisconsin, the Big Ten schedule coming up as well. So, they're going to get into that meat and potatoes, and we're going to see what they're made of. But at the moment, I don't think I can really say I've seen a team do what they were supposed to as well as Iowa. They've controlled everything, and really, to me, they've stood themselves out as one of those teams that we always talk about. Hey, when you're not taking on those top, teams, top 25 teams, you just have to go out there and blow teams away and show everybody that, hey, even though we haven't faced anybody, we deserve to be up there in that top 25. Iowa, to me, has done that.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, with the departure of Garza, not a lot of, big recruits. but they're playing like a team. This is a team that kind of reminds me of that Wichita State team that made that huge run, 5-6 years ago, beating Ohio State. They made that huge Cinderella run with just, multiple guys that can produce like that. And that's exactly what Iowa can do as well. I mean, you read off the stats of some of those players. The one that had, 29 points? That's insane, okay?
Right.
And so you got to look out for this team here. Now that you ranked them, I'm going to start paying more attention to this Iowa team. Could be a very well Cinderella run team if they don't,
slip up in Big Ten schedule.
Games. Yeah. So we shall see.
Yeah, to me, I mean, besides Purdue, to me, I think they're my favorite team right now to take home this Big Ten conference and play, with Ohio State slipping up against Xavier. They beat Seton Hall, though. That was a big one. They had to win that, and they just came out at the end. Ice in their vein from Michi. I mean, it was a phenomenal finish. Seton Hall gets, a bucket with like 3 or 5 seconds left in the game. Ohio State runs it down quickly, puts it up. Buzzer beater, beats Seton Hall in the tournament, and it was great play from Ohio State in that one. But Iowa, the way they've scored, I don't know how many teams are going to be able to keep up with that scoring and stop them defensively. So we're going to have to see. Now we hit our first team with a loss inside the top 10. Number 8, Texas A&M or Texas. Their only loss against Gonzaga by 14 points on November 13th. Other than that, though, Matt, I haven't seen anything very impressive. That first game against Houston Baptist, 92-48. It was okay. I mean, you love that score, and that's phenomenal on their part.
Yeah.
But I mean, then you get to what they've done recently. Northern Colorado, they went 62-49, 79-45. I don't have them ranked in this one. I don't actually have this team or the next team ranked in mind based on the fact they haven't really done anything. They lost by 14 to the number 1 team. You can't punish them necessarily for that, but I don't think I can give them credit for what they've done outside of that game. And I haven't seen this Texas squad as one that I really see running the table this season as a top 25 team. I haven't seen much impressiveness. They're not even in the top 40 when it comes to scoring this season. They really need to step things up as they move forward. Well, what's your thoughts on this Texas squad?
I mean, this Texas squad, it's probably the best squad since they had, like Kevin Durant probably. But like Texas, they're kind of like Iowa a little bit. They don't really have that star player. They're just a team. Yes, they lost to Gonzaga, but I think, they're 3-1. We've only been to 4 games, so we're going to see a lot more from them, and we'll really be able to tell if they're, if they should be ranked or if they shouldn't. So that's all I got.
All right. Well, how about number 7 on the list? I don't have this one ranked. You and Mike got some explaining to do because, Matt, you have them sitting at 6th in your ranking. Villanova, 3-2 overall. You have them ranked this high. They don't have one impressive win on the season. They lost Sunday against Purdue by 6 points. Yep. Okay, cool. Close game. They lost to UCLA in overtime. And cool, close game. But they haven't been able to pull out those tight wins. And if you want to be a top 10 team, in my opinion, you have to be able to do that. And, they put up 100 points against Howard, but they also let up 81 on the other side of that. They don't really seem to be pulling away from teams besides Mount St. Mary's at the beginning of the season. It's an 18-point win against the University of Tennessee, who never really seems to be overly consistent. I don't see the hype with Villanova this year. Everyone keeps hyping them up. They sit in 7th place in the AP poll. They sit in 7th place in our poll. I don't see them as a top team right now. So what's your explanation here for Villanova still being in this top 10 despite 2 losses against the only quality opponents on their schedule so far?
Yeah, it's another you could probably use that excuse like, hey, 5 games. You lost against top opponents. That's pretty much the only reason why I have them ranked. They lost to UCLA and Gonzaga. That's your number 1 and 2.
So you have them ranked because they lost.
Listen, I'm getting there.
Okay. You better start explaining here because you just said I only have them ranked because they lost.
Yeah, they lost to those main opponents right there. Yes, I think they figured some stuff out during those. They've had to. I think Jay Wright has the right mindset for them to, put up points in these games, but they just can't pull it out. We'll see more from them in their upcoming schedule. But, they're going to have to pull one of these games out. They're facing tough teams. Yes, they have a strength of schedule. Yes. but they will drop for me. I mean, if you're 3-3, I'm not, but I mean, I'm not going to rank you. Probably not at all, let alone top 10. 3-2, I was like skating. I'm like, okay, they lost to Gonzaga, they lost to UCLA, they beat the teams they were supposed to beat, and they really gave a run against these teams. But they lost in overtime against one of those games. So they have the players to compete, but they just can't pull off those wins. I'm just giving them maybe a little bit more time. It's
Benefit
just
of the
5
doubt
games
right now.
Yeah, exactly. So
I see. We're still so early in the season. To me,
Yeah.
this team's more deserving, and that's why I don't put teams like Texas or Villanova in. To me, I'm almost disqualifying teams because they've lost so early in the season. And yeah, teams have had tough schedules, big opponents they've gone up against. But at the same time, to me, this early in the season, if you want to be a top 10 team, you need to win games. And if you're not winning games early, I can't count on you to win games late. I'm not giving you the benefit of the doubt just because your name was Villanova and you had 2 close losses. I mean, you can get, absolute nobody's sometimes pulling 2 close losses against top 10 teams. If you can't win those games like Purdue, like Gonzaga has, like UCLA, to me, you don't deserve to be in that top 10. And with 2 losses already, I'm taking them out because of the fact they just haven't shown me that they can win basketball games. And that's what you have to do if you want to be a top team, right? Win games. Yeah. They can't do it.
You have to win games. Yep.
Okay. Number 6 on our list now, the Baylor Bears. They all were in our top 10. They're doing pretty much everything right. And after last season, can you really disqualify them from being in this spot?
No.
They're not having overly impressive stats, but they just beat Stanford 86-48. Their defense has been incredible once again, and we're just waiting to see what this team does once they hit a difficult Big 12 schedule. They have Nova coming up on the schedule on December 12th, and then Oregon right after that. That's really what you're looking ahead for. But they do have Arizona State this week, and a game that I'm looking forward to seeing. Arizona State just 2-2, but perhaps the best offense that we'll see Baylor go up against in the early part of the season. To me, they need to do a lot more, but so far, I'm perfectly fine what they've done. They've won every game. Their defense has played phenomenal. They've only allowed 60 points twice from Incarnate Ward and Nicholls State, and that's where they capped out 60 points. They held a Pac-12 opponent to just 48, and they held Central Arkansas to just 47. So to me, their defense is winning the games right now. I want to see more out of the offense, but they've done enough here. What about you, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, Baylor, they're just picking up where they left off last year after, that big, big game. They beat Gonzaga. Gonzaga didn't lose a game all year, and they handed them their first loss. Gonzaga was looking to go undefeated, to go all the way undefeated, and they just said, no, I don't care what your record is.
Wasn't Baylor only a one-loss team last season too?
I think so, yeah. And, I can't wait to see Baylor go up and face Gonzaga again, which, if things go out right. I don't know if they play them on their schedule.
They do not, I believe.
They do not. So we might just see another tournament.
We're going to have to wait till tournament time.
Yeah. So that'll be exciting. But, yeah, they're playing, team basketball pretty much. They're just winning games. They're 4-0. Let's see what they can do more once they get into, the meat and potatoes of their schedule.
I love that phrase, meat and potatoes. We say it all the time on the show.
It's
so
good,
true.
Though. It sounds
right?
Good.
It's what you're all waiting for. Eat that side salad before, you get to your main meal. You're sitting at the steakhouse and you're like, okay, I'm nice warmed up. Get to the meat and potatoes. Can I finish that plate? Make it to dessert. And right now, dessert is a final
16-ounce steak with my baked potato.
Right. In dessert right now, that's it. That's March Madness. March Madness is dessert. Can I make it through the meat and potatoes? Get to dessert time in March Madness, and then get the cherry on top at the end.
Cherry on top.
Cherry on top. That's a national championship. Baylor got it last year. Can they run it again? Can this time though have a good season that continues? They're going to have some tough games coming up. Number 5, the Duke Blue Devils basketball squad. They beat Kentucky in the first game, and they put up 107 against the Citadel last night. They put up 92 against Gardner-Webb. But, I just have to look. One game on this schedule so far against the Campbell Fighting Campbell, 67-56 in that game. They win it, but that was close. And it's a lot closer than it should have been, because you look at Campbell, that's their only loss on the season. They're 3-1. They beat Marshall by 2 points. They beat Hartford by 1 point, and they beat William Peace by 35. But that was their opener. That was their easy game. That was their side salad. Actually, that was the breadstick before they got to the side salad, right?
Yeah.
This Campbell team, it's probably not one that should have challenged the number 5 Duke team. I'm not giving Campbell any credit here. That was a game. If Duke wants to be a top 5 team, they really need to play a lot better in that game. And we're going to get to see what we really have out of Duke. I love their schedule coming up. They have Gonzaga this Friday, Ohio State next Tuesday. They're going to have Appalachian State. They're going to have one of the number 1 teams in the Horizon League, Cleveland State as well, once they get in, and then they'll get into ACC play, Virginia Tech, Clemson, Notre Dame. They're going to have a fun start to the season. I really like what's upcoming. And Duke, to me, if they can run the table in this one, they're going to be a very strong team come March.
Absolutely. No, it's I think that it's one of those, it's ride of glory types of seasons. Coach K's last season, they're going to run the tables. They're going to try and get him one more championship before, he retires. 5-0, pretty good start here. And, they're going to get into that.
And Matt, spoiler alert, come March, if this team is the number 1 seed, I'm probably taking them all the way to the championship.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
If they finish as, one of those top 4 teams in basketball, I think you have to just go at this point. Coach K, March Madness, number 1 seed. Yeah, I'm pushing him to the championship.
Oh, yeah.
He's by far one of the greatest coaches we've ever seen in college basketball history.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. And he's been there for a long time. The only coach that's been there longer has been Jim Boeheim from Syracuse, who's been there since 75. 5 years later, 1980, here comes, Coach K. So
yeah, there we go. Yeah. So how about number 4 on our schedule, our top 10 list here? Kansas, the Jayhawks here, 3-0 on the season. They haven't had any really big wins. They beat Michigan State, but we've seen Michigan State kind of struggle here in the early goings. Really haven't found any traction, but still a tough team. They're 3-1. They've won every game since then. So with a win over Butler as well, don't forget that. It was just that first game you saw against a tough opponent, and the game they probably should have been a little bit closer, and you saw Kansas run away from them, and Kansas hasn't played a lot of games yet, so we're really waiting to see what we can actually get out of them. 88-62 over Charleston State, 88-59 over Stony Brook. So that offense, 87.75 points per game, right around there at 0.77 points per game on the season, and I think right now you just got to like what you're seeing out of Kansas so far. I'm waiting once they get past that side salad on to what they can do with their meat.
Yeah, Kansas, they're gone.
Right now, Basketball Power Index, 4th overall, in scoring, 21st overall. So, they're doing just enough right now, and they're playing well.
They're playing very well, and I like to see more from this Kansas team going on here. They're very well-rounded. They have made tournament runs before. This Kansas team knows what it takes to, get through those meat and potatoes, and get to the dessert. So going off what they've done in the past, it's just their coaching style, and the system they run. So
right, man. I think when we're talking these top 7 teams with Nova, Baylor, Duke, Kansas, and the other 3 these are all teams that know how to make it to dessert. It's just a matter of, are they hungry enough this year to eat that whole 20-ounce porterhouse?
Yeah. Oof.
So number 3 here. I know, now I'm making people crave steak. I guarantee it. Who doesn't want a good steak? I had steak for Thanksgiving a few years ago. That was the most memorable Thanksgiving meal I've ever had.
Really?
I got these big old, they were like that thick. Oh, man. That best Thanksgiving by far. We got to have steak for Thanksgiving. It's best thing ever. Trust me on that one.
Oh, man.
No, number 3 here on our list, 5-0, the Boilermakers of Purdue. And Matt, they have been on fuego this season. That's Spanish for on fire. They have been unstoppable. You look at them, 8th right now in the Basketball Power Index, but number 1 overall in strength of resume on the season. They have been unstoppable. And you look at these games, it really hasn't been very close against these other top teams. They beat Villanova 6 points there, and they ran away from them at the end of that game. Nova took the lead into halftime, but a strong second half. Purdue pulls it away, outscores them by 8 in that final half, and they win that game handily. They do the same thing against UNC, who's 3-1 on the season. They beat them by 9. And once again, you saw this team take just a 6-point lead in the halftime, and then they come out, outscore their opponent in the second half, and really play strong, putting up over 50 in that second half against UNC. This is really becoming one of the top teams we're seeing this season. And despite that really hard strength of resume they've had so far, number 1, by the way, in the nation, They have a point per game average right now, 6th in college basketball at 91.4. They're unstoppable. They have one of the best offenses I've seen in basketball this season. And to me, this is a team that is going to be there come March.
Absolutely. And, this I really like this coaching staff. I think they have a good coach who's been there for a while, coaching guys, like Carson Edwards in there. Edwards, I remember that March game a couple of years ago, 16 3-pointers. So, I mean, they're a shooting team. They can get in the paint as well. They've had some big guys. I forget that one guy, that big tall guy. Haas, I think.
Yeah.
I forget his name. Haas, he was big. Is he still there?
I don't believe so.
I don't believe so. But, they produce guys like that. So guys that can get into the paint like that and guys that can shoot around the perimeter. So, yeah, very high-scoring offensive team. And they're going to be, spoiling their making way through March here. Because I bet you they'll be a spoil for some of those teams who want to make runs. Because, yes, they are a top-ranked team.
So the victors go the spoils. We'll see if they can be the one down at the end of the season with that cherry on top. Number 2, UCLA, 4-0. I mean, this one's pretty obvious, right? They're winning games, 90.8 points per game, 8th in college basketball, College Power Index, 10th in strength of resume right now. They're really wiping the floor. They're one of those top teams when it comes to their win-loss record, 4-0. Actually, I believe it just became 5-0 as well, as we're talking here, but they've been strong, and they have a phenomenal game upcoming against Gonzaga that we're going to preview here in a minute after we finish out this top 10. I love what I'm seeing out of Juzang. He's going to be a top pick in the NBA when he decides to go. I'm expecting him to be top 10. I mean, this is a guy you look at. He's a leader. He's athletic. He does everything you want to do. And right now he's leading this squad. They got a lot of other talent there. I like UCLA. Matt, what are your thoughts here?
I mean, UCLA, they are a well-rounded team. They can just play you straight up, and they can beat you straight up. They will come in and just, grind through the game and, just put the dagger in at the end with Juzang. I mean, these guys can play. They know basketball. That's as simple as I can put it. They can play ball.
They know how to play. Well, we'll see if they can take down number 1 Gonzaga. This one, pretty obvious, right? I mean, they're one of the best teams out there, and pardon me, they're also 5-0.
I like Chet,
miscalculated as I was putting up the numbers on here, but I mean, you look at what they've done this season. That defense has been phenomenal. I mean, you look, Central Michigan allowed 54 points while scoring 107. Bellarmine, they allowed 50 while scoring 92. Alcorn State, 57 they allowed. Even against number 8 Texas, they allowed just 74 points. I'm loving what I'm seeing out of this squad. I want to see them get into these tough matchups and perform the same way. They're going to have UCLA, Duke, and Alabama up here until December 4th. So a lot of big games with just one breather again against Tarleton State on the 29th. So a lot of big games upcoming for Gonzaga. I want to see them run the table here. They have the number 2 scoring offense in college basketball. They're 33rd strength of resume, but number 1 in the basketball power index rankings. They've been phenomenal this season, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they can do with the likes of Chet Holmgren and then Drew Timme.
Drew Timme and Chet, great combo right there. Drew Timme, I mean, losing his, who did he lose? They had that top scorer last year who left in the draft. I forget his name. But, Chet coming in and helping Drew Timme out. Drew Timme, pretty much the sole leader of that team now. And, looking to get back to where they were last year.
Jalen Suggs.
Jalen Suggs, that's right. Losing Jalen Suggs last year, it's Timmy's team. Then you bring in Chet, and he's learning from Timme as well, I'm sure. And they have a lot of supporters around them. Good coaching staff. A little bit of problems early in the season, but good coaching staff. So they're going to try and make a run at it, and then they hope to face Baylor again because they have a grudge right now. Now they have to win. They're just like Virginia, losing to that UMBC team. The next year, they won it all the way. This is kind of the same scenario here. Even though they made it all the way to the championship, now it's like they're destined to do it. Now they have to do it this year.
Yeah, they're going to have to. And, Matt, speaking of Jalen Suggs with the Orlando Magic right now after being 5th overall in last year's NBA draft, averaging about 12 points per game, but shooting just 32% from the field. He's got to improve if he wants to return to his former glory like he was at Gonzaga. But how about we go ahead and look at these matchups for tonight. Gonzaga, number 1 in our ranking and the nation, against in our ranking and the nation, number 2, UCLA Bruins tonight, 10 p.m. UCLA opened as a 5.5-point favorite in this game, despite everything saying that this is Gonzaga's game to lose.
I mean, it honestly is. The only guy that's been there for a while is Drew Timme. Yes, they have young talent, but this UCLA team has been together for years now, 2, 3, maybe even 4 years. Some of those guys have been together. They have that chemistry. Gonzaga is still trying to build that chemistry together. Yes, they're 4-0. Yes, they are good. But, this is like their first competitive game, and we're really going to see what that chemistry will look like between Chet and Drew Timme and, everybody else. So, I don't know. I think it's going to be kind of difficult to find that chemistry that needs to be built up, here in a tough game like this against a team who has the chemistry already. So it's going to be tough.
Yeah, and it really will be, and I can't wait for this game tonight. It's going to be a late one if you're staying up for it. Good, best of luck to you. I might be trying this one, but it's going to go late, and this will hopefully be potentially the best game of the season. I mean, national championship preview potentially, depending on how the rest of the year works out. And I think just right now, you just have to look at the way these two teams are performing. Unstoppable offensively, some great defense on the other side. And this one, to me, it feels like Gonzaga's game to lose. To me, Chet Holmgren is potentially the best freshman in the NBA. I mean, he's number 1 overall pick, fairly solidified. He'll be number 1, number 2, right up there, especially with the problems going on at Duke basketball and their top player, who was supposed to be number 1 overall in this next season's draft. But we'll see how that ends up shaking out if he still goes that high, or what else can happen with the criminal charges going on over there with Duke. We've already gotten into here on the show, but this game to me, it's Gonzaga's to lose between Timme and Holmgren and the rest of this team that they have. They are so strong. What they did last season proved to everybody that they could play with top contenders, because everyone doubted it. They had a terrible strength of schedule last season. It wasn't impressive at all. They didn't really have any big wins. They realized that this season, they've had to go out there against teams like Texas, against some difficult teams now in UCLA. They're going to be tested a lot more than we've seen in past seasons. And to me, that just bolsters what we've seen from this team. I'm taking Gonzaga. I got the Bulldogs.
Yeah. I'm going to go the other way here. I can take the Bruins.
You and I not being agreeing today, man. We'll see who goes right. I'm 3-0 in basketball. You're 2-1 right now on the week. So we'll find down here. Well, how about another one? This one comes in tomorrow. Not really many games on basketball tonight, so you're going to have to move ahead in the week to find something.
I have a feeling.
Number 19, UConn Huskies play host to the number 22 Auburn Tigers. This one, to me, I like this UConn team. This is their toughest test of the season. They're going to have to play big, and Auburn, to me, they're on the outside looking into that top 20. And I don't have full confidence they're going to be able to pull this one off. So I'm going to make a quick pick here. I'm going to take UConn.
I got to go UConn as well here. That Auburn team, I mean, they had Isaac Okoro, who's now on the Cavs. A couple years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, he was on that team when they made that big run in March Madness. I don't think they're that team quite yet anymore. So, yeah, UConn.
Okay, going UConn here. Obviously, no picks from Mike, not on the show, so didn't send them in. It's on him. Next game on our list here, Virginia Tech Hokies playing against the number 9 Memphis Tigers. This team really stormed out of nowhere this season. I'm loving them too. And, this is one of the teams that, I was looking through stuff. I was thinking this is the team you got to look out for. And here I go looking down at the AP, and they're sitting there at number 9. I went, well, shoot, you do have to look out for them. They've been playing, pretty well this season, and I think you got to like what you're seeing out of this team. Obviously, Memphis Grizzlies and basketball really got people hyped up for basketball, but now it's the Memphis Tigers, the college team, getting this team ready to go. And they come off just a 12-point win against Western Kentucky, but nearly 90 points in the 3 games before that, and they got some tough games to look at. And if they can run this table against Virginia Tech, Georgia, Mississippi, Ole Miss, Murray State, Alabama, and Tennessee, which is a very tough schedule to go through here. They're going to be sitting pretty for once they hit American play here in a couple weeks.
Absolutely. And now, who's their coach again? I have a feeling I know who it is. Memphis. Who's Memphis's coach?
Penny Hardaway.
That I figure is Penny Hardaway. I mean, that's a great guy to lead this team. Penny Hardaway, I mean, one of the big NBA greats and college greats too, went to Memphis. So trying to get his old team back to its former glory. I don't think they. I can't. I remember one year they made a big run, and I think they made it in the championship. But I think it's been a long time ago because I'm pretty sure Derrick Rose was on that team. So it's good finally getting them back to hopefully where he wants them to be. So
well,
if we're
how about
here,
this? Yeah, go ahead and make your pick. I'm taking Memphis in this one.
I'm gonna go Memphis as well.
Okay, well, why don't we take a quick step aside here? Some not necessarily breaking news, but an interesting storyline popping up from the Chicago Bears. This is coming from the locker rooms, talking about their head coach Matt Nagy. An overwhelming number of Bears players want Matt Nagy gone, league sources say. He lost a lot of the locker room last season, but now it's completely gone. One key holdup right now for the Bears. No head coach in the 101-year franchise history has ever been let go during the season. And Matt, what are you thinking right now? Matt Nagy? I think we've all been kind of saying it, right? That it just doesn't feel like he's willing to change. I mean, look at the defenses they've been working with the last 3-4 years. They've been unstoppable, but they don't seem to be doing anything offensively, and they haven't had overwhelmingly terrible quarterbacks. I mean, they probably have some guys that could have found ways to win with, and they just haven't. And now we're getting reports that he's completely lost the locker room. Do you think he stands a chance making it to the end of the year?
I mean, if he does, he's gone next year. So if they don't perform, but I mean, I don't think they're going to perform because I mean, obviously all the players have lost trust in him, so I think, might as well just move on right now. I mean, maybe pick up a guy, Jason Garrett did just get fired as the offensive coordinator. He was a head coach for a very long time. He had some good years in Dallas too, but I mean, he was just there too long and, things just dried up and, that's the way it goes with every Dallas coach. Okay. It's more like Jerry Jones has the control over all of them. And I'm sure Mike would like to chime in on this right now, but Jerry Jones holds a lot of things over everybody's head. It's not the head coach's team. It's Jerry Jones's team. They can't make decisions without his go,
Right.
Like if they bench this player, he has to know about it. Owners, the Steelers owners, and pretty much any other team lets their coaches make decisions, and that's their decisions. Unlike Jerry Jones, so maybe give Jason Garrett another chance. Okay.
Yeah,
he's not really the offensive coordinator; he's the head coach. Okay.
Right, and the thing with Matt Nagy is. Yeah, they've had some good season. I mean, 2018, his first year, they go 12-4, and they get to the playoffs, wild card game, they lose. Next year, they go 8-8, don't make the playoffs. After that, they get 8-8, second in the NFC North, make the playoffs, wild card game, lose to the New Orleans Saints. Then last season, they go. So far this season, 3-7. So, I mean, clearly, he's not a terrible head coach. I mean. Hasn't had a losing season so far with Chicago. Probably looks like it'll end up being this season, but they haven't been terrible. It feels like they've had so much, and the coaching staff has been the problem holding them back. And I think you're seeing that with a lot of teams around the league. It's that the coaching staff wants the game to be about them so much, it takes away from the talent you have on the field because they're not willing to adapt to fit their quarterbacks, fit their running backs, fit their defenses. I mean, I think we kind of talked about this already, right? With Matt Nagy's style. It's not working for Justin Fields, and it was getting him killed in the backfield. And you see him, week 10, week 10, 11 of the season now, and Justin Fields lasted 6 weeks because he got drilled too many times, and he's out with an injury, and Dalton has to come back after he gets knocked out first with an injury. I mean, you see the problems with the 49ers when they were trying to work with Trey Lance. They weren't willing to change the system because they were just not taking him seriously as a starting quarterback. I mean, you see this all the time with coaches around the league, and you could even say that was what happened with Washington and Dwayne Haskins. It wasn't a system fit, and they didn't want to change the system, even though they didn't really have a system to begin with. The coach came in and went, this is what we're doing. We're not changing anything. And Matt Nagy has done that in the last 4 years. Like, hey, I made it to the playoffs twice with this. I'm not, why should I change? I get us to the playoffs. Why do you need to change? Because you can't win football games when it matters.
Can't win big games. Can win that playoff game. If you can't win big
games, then what are you even out there for? Regular season wins. Who cares if you win, 15 games in the regular season?
Yeah. Doesn't matter.
The only difference between Right. The only difference between a 9-win season and a 17-win season is what you do in the playoffs. If that 17-win team goes in, loses first round of the playoffs, you know what?
Oh, well.
That season, that meant nothing. Cool. Perfect regular season, never been done. With 17-game season that they just started this year, they had, I think, just one or two other perfect seasons in NFL history. I believe Miami Dolphins as well. In the 90s, they had it.
1972, Miami Dolphins, and then Patriots here, but they didn't win the Super Bowl. The Dolphins are still the only ones.
Right, only team to actually run it through. But if you go 9-8 right now and you make it all the way to the Super Bowl and you win it, well, shit, you just had a better season than the 17-0 team that lost in the first round of the playoffs, and that's the problem with Matt Nagy. Yeah, you finished first place in your division, the NFC, 4 years ago, and you lost in the first round. Then you make it last year, lose in the first round. If you can't make it in the postseason, you don't matter. I don't care what you do during the regular season unless you're a player. If you're a player, then your regular season matters. If you're a head coach, the only thing that really matters on your resume is what you do after the regular season.
That is true.
That's what we're going in here, Matt Nagy. How about we move it back to basketball here? Another one this Friday, 10:30. As you guys are all sitting in your food comas day after Thanksgiving, maybe Thanksgiving part 2s. You get the leftover sandwiches. You get to stay up late again. Yeah. Number 5, Duke Blue Devils. Number 1, Gonzaga Bulldogs. Should be another huge game. And if Gonzaga can beat UCLA, then they got Duke right behind them. And this can either be a 2-game fantastic series, a 2-game slip, or they look okay and they split it 1-1. And I think that might be where this goes. I'm really liking this Duke team right now. They've been playing the charts. But, I think just the one thing, Gonzaga's offense has been unstoppable. I want to see I would love to go see what they do against UCLA tonight and make this pick tomorrow, but we got to make it here tonight. And if we're doing that, it's hard to pick against Duke here.
Yeah,
but I liked what I've seen from Gonzaga, and I'm going to take the Dogs.
I'm going to go against them here again, just to be different. Yeah, yes, Gonzaga is good. I think they could very well win this game, but I got to go Duke.
You're taking Gonzaga to lose twice this week.
Yeah.
Jeez. All right.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I guess we're going to have to wait and see on that one.
We'll see.
I don't know about that, Matt.
I'm just going off the board. I'm going off the deep end.
Jeez. Well, I mean, I guess we're going to have to see how that kind of settles out. And Matt, any more sports things you got going on here this week that you want to briefly talk about?
How about Loyola Chicago versus Michigan State?
Yeah,
tomorrow.
I knew you had one out there.
Oh yeah, but I'm gonna be watching that game. I love this Loyola Chicago team. They're 4-0 right now. I like what their coach is doing. They're the coach that just replaced Porter Moser, who went and left to go coach Oklahoma. And I've been keeping an eye on them, not as much as Loyola. But I like this guy who's coming in now. I mean, he's the older brother of Denzel Valentine, who plays for the Cavs. I just found this out like a week ago. I like that. I see what you did.
Had
to.
I
what
accidentally
he's doing
read
there,
MSU instead.
They did lose one of their main guys in Krutwig last year. He's gone now, but they still have. I mean, they're still building. They get a good young group there to, maybe make another big tournament run. I got to go.
Matt, 7th right now
here.
in basketball and scoring as well. So it's been a big season for them already.
Absolutely. And they have some big games coming up here.
Well,
so I got to go Loyola here.
All right. I mean, that feels like a nice pick with the way they've been playing.
It's been down.
I mean, they're still 3-1 though, and that state team. I'm not saying the first part of it. That state team, they've been really good in recent years, and they definitely have a chance this season to make another run if they can get back in the winning category. I don't know if that team that they can do it against is Loyola. I mean, this feels like such a strong matchup between these two, and the winner will, go on to face, I believe it was one of the teams we talked about earlier, I think Memphis potentially in that tournament. So it's some big games coming up for the Paradise Island tournament. I think I got to go with Loyola in this one. Nope, never mind. Cancel it. I'm taking State.
What?
Team up North State. I'm going with it. Somehow I'm picking a team from that state this week. It hurts me to do, but I'm doing it here. I got State winning this one against Loyola, but that's going to do it here for the Casual Sports Podcast. Thank you all once again for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow before we get into Thursday. But tomorrow we got college football top 10 coming out. Make sure you tune in to Power Hour coming up next year on ysnlive.com. Peace out.